This video is going to explain the difficult parts of the Chapter 2 lab in Excel. So it's going to skip around, so I'm going to go through some things, pause the video, go through some of the lab, and then come back to the difficult parts. So the first thing you do is pull up Excel, and then you want to click on a blank workbook. And then we want to rename Sheet 1. So to do that, you're going to come down here where it says Sheet 1, right click with your mouse, click on Rename. And then since it's already highlighted, you can just hit the backspace button on the keyboard and then go ahead and type what you want that sheet to be called. So we want to call it Foreign Language Studies. And then I can just click it back in my Excel and that'll go ahead and save that name. So next thing we want to do is go ahead and save our Excel. So we're going to do File, Save As. You notice this looks a little bit strange if you're not used to using the newer version of Excel. So to find where you want to save your file, the best thing to do is probably click Browse down here. So let's click on Browse and then find the appropriate place to save your lab somewhere you can easily find it, either on the desktop or your flash drive. So I'm going to save mine to my flash drive. So I'm going to scroll to Computer, and then this is my flash drive here. And I'm going to save it in my summer folder. So I'm just going to save that as Chapter 2 Lab is what you're supposed to save it as. And then your first and last name. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I'm going to replace that. All right. So here I'm going to pause this and come back. So now that we've typed in all of our categories, you'll probably notice the heading, Foreign Language Study, is flowing over into columns B and C. So we want to fix that. So to do that, you'll bring your cursor. So notice it's a white plus this 3D. So you want to bring that up to column in between columns A and B. So you notice when you get up there, your cursor switched to a black plus with the horizontal line as a line with arrows at the end. So that's what you're looking for. So once you get between columns A and B, you're just going to double click with your mouse in between A and B real quick, and that'll auto fit it so that it's just wide enough that all of your text fits in there. So now we're going to click in B and we'll type in frequency with all of our frequency totals. So again, we want to fix column B, so let's do that. And now we want to find the sum of our frequencies. So reading the problem, we have a simple random sample of 30 students, so we know that sum of the frequency column should be 30. So there's a couple different ways to do this. So let's go over those. So we can click on this auto sum button up here. So if I do that, it's going to adjust to what it thinks you mean. So sometimes you'll have to go back and adjust those numbers and won't get everything you need. But here it has what we want. So I can just click enter and it'll calculate that for me. So another way to do this is to actually physically type it in. So I can type in equals. So equals tells Excel you want it to perform some type of calculation for you. So equals sum, and then a parenthesis, and then I can come up here and click on this cell and then just drag down from there with the white that white 3D plus there, and then close my parenthesis and then press enter. Right. Or you could physically actually type in the cells. So I could do equals sum B2 colon B9 and then close my parenthesis. Right. So if for some reason your Excel is not maximized, your summation symbol is going to look smaller. It's just going to be the capital Greek letter sigma. So this is the auto sum there without the word auto sum button. It works the same way. So it'll look slightly different there. Right. So now let's move on to the relative frequency column. So I'm going to type in relative frequency. And again, we want to fix this column. So I'm going to press enter. Notice I couldn't get that cursor to come up. So I'm going to press enter, and now it'll let me fit that. And I'm going to type in equal B2. Notice I'm not using capital letters like in the directions. That's perfectly fine. It'll still take it. Notice how B2 is in blue, and I also highlighted the cell B2 in blue, so it tells you that's what it's working with. And then divided by $B, $, and our total is in 10. So I'm going to use B10, so that's in red. We're using the dollar signs because that's the absolute cell reference. We always want it to refer back to that cell. So I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to drag down from there. So I'm going to click on this cell, and then I'm looking for this little black plus in the corner. Once I found it, I'm going to drag that down here. Right. So now I have all this calculated. So I just want to show you guys what happens if I didn't put that in dollar signs. So equals B2 divided by B10. And then if I were to take that and drag it down, notice I have this error message. And that's because it's referring to, so if I click in this cell and look at my formula, it's referring to a cell that doesn't have an entry. So it's thinking it wants to divide by 0. That you want it to divide by 0, which we know we cannot do. So that's why we're using dollar signs, so that it always refers back to that cell. So we're kind of forcing it to change the pattern that it thinks you're going to want there. Right? So now we want to do the same thing here. We want to do an auto sum. So I'm just going to click on it and notice it gets that correct again as well. So then I'm just going to press enter. Let's go ahead and save our file again. So I can just do file, save here, or there's the what looks like a floppy disk up here if you guys remember those. So I can just click on that, or you can press Control and S at the same time on your keyboard, and that will also save your file. So next thing I'm going to do is create a Pareto chart. So that's just a bar graph that's in descending order. So the first thing we need to do is order our data here. So we're going to highlight everything except for the total. So I'm going to start here and click on that value. And while I have a left click and that top A1 cell, it's going to kind of drag over all of that with that white 3D plus. Then I'm going to click on the data tab at the top and then click on the sort button. And then I want it to sort by frequency and then sort on values, and then we want to do largest to smallest. Right. So you'll notice it kept the frequency that corresponded to those values, and the reason it did that is because when we highlighted all of those together, it told Excel, hey, these 3 values in that row are linked together, they need to remain together when you sort. So that's how that works together. So now that we have our data sorted, we can create a frequency Pareto chart. And so we want to highlight the foreign language studied category column and the frequency column without the total. And then we're going to click on the Insert tab. And then the one here that looks like a vertical bar graph. And then the first option underneath it that says clustered column. So now we have something here that roughly looks like a bar graph. We're going to have to do some adjustments to it, but that's fine. So we have a bar graph in here. All right. So now we want to change the title. So to do that, I am going to click up the top where it says frequency. That's my chart title. So I'm going to right click and then click on edit text. And then I can just press the right over arrow on my keyboard and then backspace, and that'll delete all of that. And then I can type in my new title, which is number of students studying a foreign language. And then now to get out of that, I want to click somewhere in my Excel sheet outside of my chart. Otherwise, we may move the actual chart around in there. So if for some reason you clicked here and you went to go try, you can actually move the chart in there. So say you made a mistake, you can come up here beside the Save button and click on the Undo button. I actually need to undo that twice. All right, so everything can be undone there in Excel if you make a mistake. So now we can create a relative frequency Pareto chart the same way, except for we're going to use column C. So I'm going to click here on A1 and left click on my mouse and drag down with a white 3D plus. Once I have that highlighted, I'm going to let go of my mouse. I'm going to hit the control button on my keyboard, and while I'm holding it down, I'm going to click on cell C1 and then drag down. And then I'm going to let go of the control button and the mouse. I'm going to do the same thing, so I'm going to come to Insert, and then the same option, so the bar, vertical bar, and then that first option. So notice it put that graph on top of the other one, so I'm just going to click on that chart, left click, and then just drag with my mouse away from that. So now we want to change the colors so both of them are not the same. It doesn't matter which graph you change there. So we just want to change one of the graphs. So to do that, you want to make sure you're actually on one of the graphs. So we're under the Chart Tools and the Design tab, so it's already highlighted for us. There's Change Colors over here. You can just click on that and then just click on an option until the bars are changed a different color. Is the easiest way to do that. So some of you guys are probably going to know a little bit more, and that's fine if you want to play with it. That's just the easiest way to change the colors there. So now we want to create a pie chart. So just click back in my Excel to come out of all of that. So we're going to again highlight column A and column C. Then we're going to go back to the Insert tab, and then the one that looks like a circle, so it says Insert Pie or Donut Chart, and then the first option under 2D. So we have a rough sketch there. So we want to change our title again here. So we're going to change that to Studying a Foreign Language. And again, click on the outside of the graph. And then we need to move and resize these so we can see all of them. So to do that, remember how to move it. You're just going to click somewhere in the chart and move that around. So to resize them, you're going to click in either the bottom and click in the top, even the top corners. You're just going to look for that white diagonal line. And then you can just kind of smush that in there. Alright, so I'm just going to we've got all of those in there. So now what we want to do is actually put the percents on our pie chart. So we want to right click on the circle and click Add Data Labels. And then we're going to click on one of those and click Format Data Labels. And you'll notice this menu comes up over here to the right. First thing you want to do is check percentage. And then once you have percentage checked, uncheck value. That's the best way to do it, otherwise you may have some strange things that occur. Then we want to check outside end. And then we want to click on this number here, and that'll pull up another drop down menu. So now scroll down. Category, change that to percentage, and then click outside of your chart and you're good to go. So moving along, now what we want to do is just, so we've already moved those around, we want to create a header. So a couple ways to do this, we can click Page Layout. And then click Sheet Options and click Header Footer, and then click Custom Header, and then type in those sections there. That's one way to do that. Another way to do it is to click at the bottom, there's these buttons beside of the zoom. The middle one is Page Layout. That's probably the best feature. So you'll notice all my graphs kind of got split up. So notice there's 3 boxes, so that's the easiest way to do it. So we're going to type our headers in these boxes, and there will be another video that finishes this up.